Good morning, students. Welcome to this E-class of BND Government Arts College, Chimanpura. In this class, we would take up for discussion scenes 7 and 8 of Girish Karnad's famous play, Tughlaq. In the earlier classes, we had taken up for discussion scene 1 to scene 6 of the play in various episodes. In this class, we would further discuss the play and take up scenes 7 and 8 as part of our discussion. We have come to know in the earlier classes that Tughlaq deals with the last 5 years of the reign of Muhammad bin Tughlaq, and the way Tughlaq's character has been projected, the way the events they have been portrayed, the way the situations have been presented to the readers or to the audience, they all reflect that there is a conflict in Tughlaq's personality, and there's a paradox which actually arises from the various conflicts that are reflected all through the play. We have come to know that people, they held a very different sort of an opinion about Tughlaq. Neither Hindus nor Muslims nor young nor old, they relied upon the policies and the rule of Tughlaq. So as the plot advances, the conflict develops. By this time, we have come to know that Sheikh Imamuddin is treacherously killed by Tughlaq, and the maliciousness and the rule of Tughlaq and the way of his kingship is intensified by the conflict with the rebellion of Amirs, Sheikh, Sayyids, who hatch a conspiracy under the rebellion under the leadership of Shihabuddin to murder Tughlaq at prayer time. By the end of the last scene, we have come to know that Tughlaq, he masterminds the conspiracy in a very effective way, and he takes all precautions, arrests Amirs, and by the end of the last scene, inhumanly he kills Shihabuddin. So the action in this scene takes place in a camp on the road to Daulatabad. Earlier, there has been an announcement that every citizen of Delhi must leave for Daulatabad. No one is going to remain behind in Delhi, and anyone who dares to stay behind or goes elsewhere would be severely punished by the king. So all arrangements for the people on their way to Daulatabad, as food, clothing, medicine, shelter, it has been made by the state, it has been ensured by the state, and when the scene opens, people are now on the march towards Daulatabad. I had told you earlier that the main plot is about Tughlaq, and there's a subplot that runs parallel to the main plot, and that is of Aziz and Azam. Aziz basically offers an ironic contrast to Tughlaq's character. So Aziz is the foil to the character of Tughlaq, and he is again introduced in this scene. Earlier we had known Aziz in the first scene, where as in the guise of a Brahmin, Aziz wins a case against Sultan, and he wins the game. So in this scene, Aziz and his close associate Azam are seen shifting their attention towards making money, because he had been given a post as a civil official. So as a civil official, he is striving to make money by deceiving people on their way to Daulatabad, the new capital. In scene 7, this is the route from Delhi to Daulatabad, and Aziz, still dressed as a Brahmin, swindles innocent citizens on their way to the new capital. And his purpose is to make maximum money out of the miserable people, out of the poor people. Aziz is presented as a worldly wise and as a very, very cunning, as a very shrewd man. So when the scene opens in a camp on the Delhi-Daulatabad route, a Hindu woman is kneeling before Aziz, who is dressed as a Brahmin, and she is requesting Aziz to give her the permission to see the doctor so that she can take care of her sick child, of her ailing child. But all her appeals, they fall on the deaf ears of Aziz, who wants his palm to be greased. So he does not actually listen to the request of the lady, even when Azam, he actually presents the request on behalf of the lady. So instead, when Azam's advice it fails, Aziz tells Azam that the permission to the lady he has denied because the child he is not going to survive, and it was a sheer waste of time and money to go to a doctor. So then Aziz starts reading his books, and a man and a woman with 6 kids, they arrive. Aziz continues reading. Azam, he is embarrassed and he wanders round without looking at them. The family waits patiently, and when asked that why they are late, the man tells Aziz that he found 2 corpses lying on the road and he gave them a decent burial. Aziz tells that it is Sultan's order that none should insult or cause harm to Hinduism. So before burying these corpses, did he ensure that they are not the bodies of Hindus? When asked who this man is, the man tells Aziz that he is a kafir. He has to guard the corpses executed by the Sultan for a week and then to carry them to the canal outside the city. He has to guard them against the thieves who are the relatives of the dead, because when they claim the body, they have to pay the fine. So just to avoid the fine, they take away the body by thefting it in the night. So he was appointed as a guard to take care of these bodies. Aziz and Azam, they listened to him and asked him if he was going to have more children. And the man answers that first he'll get married and then he would think about it. Azam calls him a dirty man and asks them to leave. He feels tired of that life, and Azam, he fears that one day this disguise or this position would put them in great trouble. But Aziz, who is quite confident, tells that he is a fool. And even living in Delhi, he has not learnt anything. So Aziz tells that few months in Delhi, he has discovered a full new word. And what is this word? This is the word of politics. So Aziz tells that you have been in Delhi for so many years, but once I have been in Delhi for few months, I have discovered a whole new word, and this word is the word of politics. And Aziz categorically says it to Azam that, my dear fellow, that is where our future is, politics. Because for him, politics is a beautiful word which gives wealth, success, position, power, and very ironically, Aziz says that yet it is full of brainless people. people with not an idea in their head, and he sufficiently justifies his action and invents new methods of cheating fellow citizens with every changing circumstances. So at this time, the Hindu woman, she is heard crying for her dead child, and Azam fears that certainly she is going to report the matter to Sultan, but Aziz is sure that she would not go to Sultan because Aziz is disguised as a Hindu official, and he is quite sure that she will not do so against a Hindu officer. He tells Azam that they would not be in the service of Sultan for long, and he also tells Azam that the Sultan has introduced copper coin. The copper coins, they are going to have the same value as the silver dinar, and he tells out his plans that in the future they are going to counterfeit the coins. So more families arrive and the curtain, it drops. So the scene 7, it ends. So Tughlaq has many intrigues, and the intrigues while reading the play lead to various strains and tension. This strain and tension have been unbearable, but for the dramatic relief provided by the characters in this subplot by Aziz and Azam. Aziz, who is being the more intelligent of the two, assumes many disguises and provides fun and humor. So both of these characters, they provide dramatic relief, but also this subplot is the parody of the main plot, and it is full of irony, it is full of satire aimed at the Sultan and his policies, that where did Tughlaq go wrong. In this scene, Aziz and Azam again appear after the tension-ridden scene of the murders of Sheikh Imamuddin and Shihabuddin. The Hindu woman who is introduced in the tent, her son is seriously ill, and she hopefully looks at Aziz, thinking him to be a Brahmin that would help her. But Aziz turns a deaf ear to her request. This situation is both ironical and satirical. Dead bodies, acts of barbarity, and inhuman suffering, they amuse Aziz. The man with a woman and 6 children, they create a very absurd kind of a situation. The man, he was so busy guarding the corpses, so many people, they have been killed, murdered, that this man could not find time for marriage in Delhi. So he would marry the women with 6 children first of all. Now, how strange both of these characters and their sufferings, and the way Aziz reacts towards the suffering, and the civil officials and the government officials, how they made maximum benefits, or they made lot of money out of the policies of Tughlaq. And when Azam, who is fed up with this idle life and he wants to run away, Aziz makes fun of him and he makes a sarcastic comment which is full of irony, which is full of satire, and which is a big comment upon Tughlaq's rule. And Aziz says, "You are a hopeless case. You know, pathetic, you have been in Delhi for so many years and you are as stupid as ever. Look at me, only a few months in Delhi, and I have discovered a whole new word, politics. My dear fellow, that is where our future is. Politics. It's a beautiful word, wealth, success, position, power, and yet it is full of brainless people with not an idea in their head. When I think of all the tricks I used in our village to pinch a few torn clothes from people, if one uses half that intelligence here, one can get robes of power and not have to pinch them either. Get them. It's a fantastic word. So Aziz, who is very intelligent, who is very shrewd, understands the loopholes or understand the weakness in the rule of Tughlaq, and by the end of the play we would come to know that it is Aziz who had made the maximum benefit out of the policies and out of the rule of Tughlaq. Thus, the subplot of the play, it offers an ironic contrast, yet it is full of fun, it is full of ironic humor. It serves as the parody of the main action of the play, and it makes us see the flaws of Tughlaq's rule in a comic light. So all the disguises of Aziz and Azam, they are essentially very important to the play. The scene 8 opens in the fort of Daulatabad. It is AD 1332, and this is 5 years later from the date on which the action begins. As the curtain rises, two watchmen, one young and the other past his middle age, stand at the fort of Daulatabad at past midnight. So the scene has quickly shifted to Daulatabad, the new capital, and the two sentries who are guarding the fort, they comment on the progression of events on the way to Daulatabad. The family of the older watchman, they had died on the way, and old man considered himself unfortunate to have survived. They discuss the rather unhappy state of affairs, and Tughlaq suddenly arrives on the spot and opens his heart out to the young sentry. When Sultan Muhammad arrives and looks down the wall, we come to know that this young man, he has never seen Sultan. So the young watchman, he requests him not to go near the wall because it is very steep. Muhammad, on inquiry, is told that the young watchman, he is only 19 years old. And Muhammad tells the watchman that he was only 21 when he came to Daulatabad and built the fort. And he tells that he supervised the construction of this fort, and added that one night when I was standing on the ramparts of the old fort here, there was a torch near me flapping its wild wings and scattering golden feathers on everything inside. There was a half-built gate nearby, trying to contain the sky within its cleft. Suddenly something happened as though someone had cast a spell. The torch, the gate, the fort, and the sky all melted and merged and flowed in my bloodstream with the darkness of the night. The moment shed its symbols, its questions and answers, and stood naked and calm, where the stars throbbed in my vein. So he tells the young man, the young sentry, that when I came to Daulatabad first and when I started building this fort, I supervised the placing of every brick in it. And I said to myself that one day I shall build my own history like this, brick by brick. And he recalls that how he was filled with hope and enthusiasm, which eventually died out. And his disturbed and perplexed state of mind is exposed in this scene. He suffers from disturbance, tension, and inner agony. The news of armies marching towards him is told by Barani, the historian, and it unnerves him. So in the meanwhile, when Barani enters and Muhammad tells him that he can't read, he can't sleep, he is always vexed, And he tells the reason that Fakhruddin has revolted in Bengal. There has been another uprising in Deccan. In Malabar, Ensha has declared himself independent, and there's drought in Daub and is spreading. So, the making of counterfeit coins, they are flourishing in the state. And in the whole kingdom, he can trust only two people, Ainul Milk and Shiabuddin's father. So there seems to be no remedy for the diseases that have engulfed his state. And he tells that he has often thought of giving up this futile struggle and go to Mecca and sit by Kaaba in search of peace. But then the ghost of dead people continually taunt him spiritually. Barani submits that Muhammad is known for his learning and scholarship all the world over, and history is not made only in statecraft. Its lasting results are produced in the rank of learned man. So, Barani compliments Muhammad as a learned man. Muhammad is known for his knowledge of philosophy and poetry, and he must stand for the ideals of love and peace. But he was not doing anything of the kind, and he must change. He must stop doing the wrong thing. When Barani says this, Sultan replies that it isn't as easy as leaving the patient in wilderness because there's no cure for this disease. And he says, don't you see that this patient, racked by fever, crazed by the fear of enveloping vultures, can't be separated from me. While they are talking, the old watchman comes running, and by the end of this scene, this old man tells them that Naib Wazir has sent over that Wazir Muhammad Nazib has been murdered. His body was found lying in bed. So, with this shocking news of Nazib's murder, the courtier and the close associate of Tughlaq, the scene ends. So, scene 8 tells us of the tortured and tormented soul of Muhammad. Tughlaq is torn spiritually. The vultures that prey upon him, they are his sins. He may be a scholar, he would like to go to Mecca to pray for peace, but all is futile for even then because he would have no peace. His sins, they are going to be with him all through his life. He cannot even abdicate them, for he would not have peace in this world. He is so much tormented and he is so full of tensions. And moreover, admitting of his mistake would be leading towards the complete failure of Tughlaq. The scene ends with the news of the tragic murder of Nazib, the Sultan's trusted friend and Wazir. Who could have killed him? The mystery would be solved in the scenes which are to follow.